Hello, my name is Avery and I'm going to be giving a presentation on my recent study abroad trip. Some personal information about myself is that I'm going to be a freshman at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, where I'm looking to major in business, and my interests are in international business, sales, and management. I'd love to experience new things and meet new people, and that is one of the main factors and reasons why I decided to go on this European study abroad trip. What my trip consisted of is it was a 12-day period where we were in 4 different countries, and those countries were Italy, Germany, Austria, and Czech Republic. And what I really liked about this trip is I was able to compare and contrast the 4 different cultures and lifestyles of 4 different European countries. What my project consisted of is I was observing and researching Germany's business culture, which I broke down into their separate work days and their separate work weeks. I looked at their dress, and I also looked at the principles and rules that the German business life had to offer. I also looked at their communication, and what that broke down to was what kind of body language and their word choice that they're going to be using in certain meetings and just their overall work experience. Germany's economy. So Germany's economy is actually the largest economy in Europe, and it's the 4th largest economy in the world. And then a little history on their economy is they were one of the founding countries to develop the European Union. And some of the major companies that we as Americans are familiar with is Volkswagen and BMW. So my pre-trip research. So when I was doing my research for this project, I was looking at the business culture. And what it told me about their work days is that they usually will be done with their work by 4, and their work week will not usually exceed over 35 hours, and overtime is usually not allowed for the German workers. They have 12 national holidays, and their dress. Germans always dress for success, especially for business, and nothing is too revealing, and they always stick to dark colors. For Germans' principles, they use a task-based approach, which allows them to get projects done in a timely fashion. And another really important rule for German business life is being on time for everything. In the German business life, it doesn't matter if it's just a lunch meeting or if it's a really important meeting with your boss. You always have to be on time no matter what. For communication, the style that can be described for how the German business people communicate is direct and explicit. And they also are very reserved with what they do and what they say. And they rarely will show affection in the workplace. There's less hand gestures for German business people, and they use quieter voices. Before and after business meetings, you will be seeing handshakes followed with a slight bow, and eye contact is extremely important when you are talking to your peers in the workplace. For my time in Germany, I spent most of my time in Munich, which is the richest city in Germany, and one of the reasons it is the richest city is because they have the most industry. And I spent 2 nights and 3 days in Munich, so I really got a good feel for the city itself. We also spent time in smaller towns, and it was really great to go into the smaller towns because it was so different than the Munich life in Germany compared to the small towns in Germany. How I collected my data when I was in Germany is I was able to observe the workers that I was seeing, and I also talked with many of the workers that I ran into on my daily activities in Germany. So what that meant is I was talking to a lot of transportation people. I was talking to tour directors. I was talking to waiters and waitresses, hotel staff, and I also got to talk to some salespeople at the BMW headquarters. And what was great about my collection for my data was I was able to look at many different areas of business, and I was also able to compare the small city life for business compared to the big city life, which is what I saw with Munich and then the smaller towns. For my trip experiences, so for the dress code, our instructor made an emphasis on how we dressed immediately as we entered the country, so I was able to see the impact of the dress code right away. When you would walk down the streets, you would see more suits and dresses and business attire, and that didn't matter if you were in Munich or a small town. One thing that I didn't have in my research that I found out is a lot of people will always be clean-shaven for work, and also punctuality is extremely important, and I realized that when I was on my trip. If we were 1 minute late for the bus, that bus would be gone, and it didn't matter if it was a bus, if it was a train, if it was our tour guide, we always had to be right on our schedule. Our bus tour guide, he made sure that we were in and out of every place that we visited exactly on time. The communication side is Munich did not have any small talk or really didn't connect with any of its customers compared to the smaller cities. So more of my trip experiences is for the communication side. The smaller towns were a lot more friendly and they made connections with their customers compared to where in Munich they did not at all. And we had a guided bus tour in Munich itself, and we could tell that our bus driver was straight to the point and he didn't make any jokes at all when he was on the trip. He just said strictly the information that he was supposed to, and he didn't stray away from that at all. The work days, when I would talk to the locals and the workers there, it didn't line up with my pre-trip research because I was dealing with a whole bunch of different areas of business, so such as like the hotel staff and the waiters and waitresses. Their days did not line up with what I saw in my research, but also they said that it basically just depends on the kind of field that you're in, because the salespeople that worked at the BMW headquarters, they said that they don't exceed over 35 hours, and they usually will only work until like 4. So that lined up, but it just depends what kind of field you're in. What I learned, so my statement of learning is the place I visited, which was Germany, was my favorite country, and the reason for that was just all of the food and the drink and the culture and the overall atmosphere of the country was just really intriguing for me. I was really able to connect to a lot of the locals in Germany itself, so that is the big reason why I liked it the most. And for my topic, for my business life, what I learned is they were very efficient and they were able to separate their work from their home life, which I thought was super important. And I really enjoyed their overall work environment, and I thought it was super efficient. So that's one thing that I learned when I was on this trip. Benefits for myself, this project and this trip gave me a new perspective on really how to do things and how to build new relationships, not only in the school, but in my workplace and just in my overall connections with new people that I'm going to meet down the road. And another benefit for me is going into this trip, I always knew that I wanted to not only study abroad, but I want to get an internship in another country for a semester, which I think would be extremely beneficial for me. And after doing this, I really am interested in going and finding an internship for that semester in Germany, which I did not know before I went on this trip. So that is a huge benefit that I've learned and I can take away from this trip and this project. And this is my Works Cited, and thank you very much for listening.